Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking into something really fascinating. The changing face of digital marketing right here in Bangladesh. It's a space that's seen some huge shifts, especially over the last, 10 years or so?
Yeah.
Think about it. Since around 2012, there's been this undeniable surge in interest in digital marketing. And it's easy to see why, right? Internet use has just exploded. We're talking by November 2024, figures hitting 192.8 million internet users. That's huge. And mobile internet, even bigger, 192.06 million users.
That mobile number is really something.
It really is. And then you got social media also booming, like
Yeah.
52.90 million users back in January 2024. That's a jump of over 22% from the year before. So you'd naturally think businesses are diving in head first, wouldn't you?
You would expect that, yes.
But here's where it gets a bit strange. Our sources point to this kind of paradox. Despite all this potential, this massive digital audience, a lot of businesses, especially the smaller and medium-sized ones, they still seem to view digital marketing as just
Yeah.
an expense.
Just another cost line item.
Exactly. Which leads to things like, limiting paid ads or boosting posts with tiny budgets, sometimes literally just $5 or $10. It just feels disconnected from the opportunity.
It really does.
And this mindset, it often seems to just zero in on one question. Okay, fine, but how much will my sales go up right now?
That immediate return question.
Yeah. And that laser focus, well, it seems to miss the bigger strategic value, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And that really is what we want to unpack in this deep dive. We need to look at this digital paradox, tackle some of those very common misunderstandings, and really show why thinking of digital marketing as a strategic investment is so critical for long-term growth, for real success.
Okay.
And we'll be using data, real insights from the source material to, illustrate just how much difference that shift in thinking can make.
All right, let's do that. So let's unpack it. Beyond those big headline numbers, what's the digital environment in Bangladesh really like? What are the layers underneath? Well, okay, digging a bit deeper. Internet penetration was sitting at 44.5% in January 2024. And if we look at social media platforms specifically, Facebook's still the big one, no surprise there. 52.90 million users in Jan 24.
Still dominant.
Still dominant. But interestingly, its potential ad reach actually dipped a bit, like 9% between late 2023 and early 2024.
That's worth noting.
Yeah. And at the same time, you see TikTok just shooting up 37.36 million users aged 18 plus. And Instagram's growing really fast, too, up something like 46% to 6.5 million users.
Wow, that's significant growth for Instagram.
Definitely. Oh, and another thing, the gender split on social media is quite pronounced. About 66% male, 34% female users.
These platform dynamics are really crucial for businesses. Sure, Facebook's the giant, but that little dip in reach, combined with the serious growth on TikTok and Instagram, that's kind of a warning sign for marketers, isn't it?
How so?
Well, it suggests where people's attention might be shifting. You can't just stick with the old playbook. You have to think about where your audience actually is spending time and maybe where your ad budget should follow. Ignoring these shifts, you could be missing huge chunks of potential customers.
That makes sense. Okay, now let's switch gears slightly to e-commerce, because the numbers there are pretty eye-popping too.
Yeah, the growth is impressive.
It's projected to hit, US $7.5 billion in 2024, and then climb towards almost $10 billion by 2028.
Huge numbers.
And get this, 80%. 80% of that e-commerce volume happens on mobile devices.
That's the key figure right there, mobile first.
Totally. And digital transactions overall, they jumped 17% just between December 23 and June 24. We're talking nearly 480 million transactions. It's a massive change in how people are buying things.
It absolutely is, but, and this is a big but, our sources also flag up this concept of a digital divide within that very promising picture.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
Well, for example, mobile subscriber numbers have actually been declining slightly month on month since mid-2024, and smartphone use in rural areas still pretty low. Only about 26% of mobile users there have smartphones.
Only 26%? Wow.
Yeah. Plus, you've got high taxes on telecom services, over 54%. And a lot of the country still relies on older 2G networks, about 34%.
So it's not a uniform picture at all.
Not at all. And this digital divide means your marketing can't be one size fits all. If you're targeting rural areas with low smartphone penetration, maybe your fancy app or video ads aren't the way to go.
Right.
You might need to think about SMS campaigns, maybe simpler mobile websites, perhaps even working with local agents for cash on delivery. It's about, meeting people where they are, technologically speaking.
That leads to another point you mentioned, the payment barrier.
Exactly. Despite all that e-commerce growth, a huge chunk, 75% of transactions, are still cash on delivery. Credit and debit card use is very low.
75% CRD. That's massive.
It is. And it means your digital marketing has to do more than just create awareness. It has to build enormous trust.
Because of fraud concerns.
Precisely. People worry about cyber fraud. So your campaigns, your website, they need to scream reliability. Think clear return policies, customer reviews, maybe even live chat support, all aimed at overcoming that hesitation to pay online.
Okay, so we have this complex picture.
Yeah.
Huge potential, mobile dominance, but also this digital divide and trust issues around payments. Given all that, why aren't more companies fully leaning in? Why the hesitation to invest properly?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think a big part of it comes down to that perception issue we talked about. Marketing is seen as an expense.
Just a cost center.
Right. The focus is purely on, did this ad generate X sales today? There's often a lack of clear long-term goals or even the methods to properly measure the impact beyond immediate sales.
Which leads to
Looking for the cheap way out, like those $5 or $10 boosts, which, let's be honest, are often just throwing money away because the reach is so small, the targeting isn't effective. It delivers almost nothing.
So it's actually counterproductive.
Completely. This short-term thinking, it tracks businesses. They're always chasing the next quick sale. They rush into tactics without a strategy. And they completely fail to build a sustainable brand or lasting customer relationships.
And you see this play out.
Definitely. I mean, the source mentions how many startups fail within just a year or two. And a big reason, lack of effective marketing strategy. They mistake being cheap for being cost-effective.
Explain that difference.
Well, think about it like this. Spending very little on marketing that doesn't work isn't cost-effective. It's actually incredibly expensive when you factor in the wasted time, the missed opportunities, the potential customers you never reached. True cost-effectiveness comes from investing smartly, strategically, where you can measure the return.
Okay, so what does that investment perspective look like then?
It means seeing marketing as a revenue engine, not a cost center. The focus shifts. You start looking at key performance indicators, KPIs.
Like what specifically?
Things like your cost per lead, how much does it cost to get someone interested? Your customer acquisition cost, or CAC, what's the total cost to get a paying customer? And, crucially, customer lifetime value, LTV. How much revenue can you expect from that customer over the entire time they do business with you?
Ah, okay. So measuring the value generated, not just the initial cost.
Exactly. These metrics show you the real impact and let you make informed decisions about where to put your marketing dollars for the best long-term results.
So if a business wants to shift to this investment mindset, how much should they actually be budgeting? Are there general guidelines or benchmarks?
Yeah, there are some useful benchmarks from the source material. Generally, businesses might invest around 5 to 10% of their revenue just to kind of maintain their current position, stay steady.
Okay, 5 to 10% for sustainment.
Right. But if you want to actively grow, push forward, you're typically looking at more like 11 to 20% of revenue going into marketing.
11 to 20% for growth. That's quite a bit more.
It is. And for brand new startups, the recommendation is often even more aggressive, maybe 15 to 20%. Because in those early stages, building awareness and acquiring those first customers is absolutely critical. You need that initial push.
That makes sense. You need to get noticed.
Yeah.
Now, something else that came up was this idea of a content promotion disconnect. It sounds like even if a company creates really good stuff, they might be falling short somewhere else.
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge issue. There's often this weird indifference to how much good content actually costs to produce. And then even when they have a great piece of content, a video, an article, whatever, there's this real hesitation to spend money to actually promote it effectively.
So creating it is just step one.
Exactly. Our sources stress that creating the content is literally only half the battle. Getting it seen by the right people distribution, boosting, that's equally vital. And then you need to connect the dots, link the quality of that content back to your performance goals, create that feedback loop.
Otherwise, it just sits there.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which leads to this, what the source calls the visibility illusion of organic reach. Meaning businesses hope people will just magically find and love their content without any paid push. But the reality is the online space is incredibly crowded and competitive, relying only on organic reach. Your amazing content probably just gets lost in the noise.
So you need both organic and paid.
You really do. The analogy used is quite good. Paid ads are like renting an apartment. You get leads as long as you pay.
Yeah.
Organic reach, built through great content, and SEO over time, that's like ownership.
Yeah.
You need both for a solid foundation.
Okay, so back to those tiny budgets. If a business is only putting in that $5 or $10 for boosting, what's really happening? Is it just completely pointless?
It's pretty close to pointless, honestly. They're basically, as the source puts it, whispering in a stadium where no one can hear them.
Uh-huh. I like that image.
It fits, right. That tiny budget means extremely limited reach, probably poor targeting, and zero chance of cutting through the clutter. You're not just being ineffective, you're actively missing opportunities. Even something like remarketing, targeting people who've already visited your site, costs relatively little, maybe BDT 500 to 1,000 a day for highly targeted reach. That's a small investment for a potentially big return compared to just throwing $5 out there randomly.
Right. Okay, so let's flip it. If businesses do make that mental shift, if they start investing strategically, what kind of results can they actually see? Can we quantify the impact based on the source?
Yes, absolutely. The data is quite compelling. Let's look at a few examples. Search engine optimization, SEO. There's a case study of a retail company that saw a 70% increase in organic traffic in just 6 months.
70%.
70%, and their conversion rates went up by 35%. Then there's pay-per-click advertising, PPC. Think targeted ads. The source shows examples with a 200% return on investment and sales increases of 50% during specific promotions.
A 200% ROI is pretty convincing.
It certainly gets attention. Email marketing. Even more impressive in some ways, an average return of $36 for every $1 spent.
$36 back for every dollar.
Incredible, right? And content marketing, when done well, apparently generates 3 times more leads per dollar spent compared to traditional outbound methods.
These numbers really drive the point home, don't they? When you invest strategically, measure it properly, digital marketing clearly delivers tangible growth. And this isn't just theoretical, right? We have examples from Bangladesh itself.
We absolutely do. The source highlights several agencies and their successes. 8065, for example, ran successful campaigns for well-known brands like Sanalina Bridal Series, LIC Bangladesh, Vision Emporium.
Okay, household names.
Right. Red Sparrow Digital is another one mentioned. They achieved 93% business growth for a client called Thai Medi Express and 92% sales growth for Dr. Betros.
Huge growth percentages.
And marketers apparently generated a 3x ROI and over 3.2 million leads across more than 120 businesses they worked with.
So the proof is there.
The proof is definitely there. And what these successes often boil down to is using a smart strategic channel mix. Meaning not putting all your eggs in one basket. Combining those long-term organic strategies like good content, solid SEO to build authority, with paid strategies like boosting, PPC ads, email marketing for that more immediate reach, and driving conversions.
Tailoring it all.
Exactly. Tailoring it to your specific audience, the platforms they use. And interestingly, the source notes that for startups specifically, social media marketing and networking activities account for over 75% of their performance outcomes. So getting that social piece right is crucial.
Okay, so the potential is clear. The strategies work. But what's holding businesses back? What are the biggest hurdles in Bangladesh specifically to adopting this investment mindset, and how do they get past them?
Well, one major issue identified is this kind of chicken and egg problem related to skills.
Skills gap.
Precisely. There's often a significant lack of digital marketing know-how among SME owners and their employees. This leads to them maybe trying things, but doing them ineffectively, spending money poorly.
Which then reinforces the idea that digital marketing doesn't work, or it's just an expense.
Exactly. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the solution really involves investing in education training, workshops, maybe bringing in consultants. But crucially, that training needs to go beyond just, here's how to use Facebook ads. It needs to focus on strategy, on ROI measurement, on planning.
Building that strategic capability.
Yes. And then there are the broader infrastructural and regulatory challenges.
Like what?
We touched on some already, those high taxes on telco services, over 54%. The fact that 2G networks are still so common hinders richer content delivery. There's a lack of sufficient data centers, stalled 5G rollout. These things matter.
And the lack of local offices for major social media platforms.
That's another point raised, yeah. It impacts potential tax revenue for the country and also potentially limits the bargaining power or support available for local businesses and creators using those platforms. Addressing these wider issues really requires collaboration between the government and the industry itself.
It sounds like there are also just some basic misunderstandings about what digital marketing is.
Yeah.
Like people thinking just posting stuff on Facebook is enough or expecting overnight results.
Oh, definitely. That's the effort versus strategy misconception rearing its head again. Posting content without a clear strategy, without proper targeting, without adequate promotion, it's mostly just noise. It's activity without outcome.
So it's not just about doing more, it's about doing it smarter.
Precisely. The education needs to shift focus from just the what what tools to use to the how and the why, how to do it effectively, how to measure it, and why it's a long-term investment, not a magic bullet for instant sales.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive today, the core message seems crystal clear. For businesses in Bangladesh wanting to truly succeed in this digital age, there needs to be a fundamental shift, moving away from seeing digital marketing as just an expense.
And embracing it as a strategic investment.
Right. And things like only boosting posts for $5 or $10 or creating content but then not promoting it properly, these aren't just suboptimal. They're actually damaging in the long run. They're missed opportunities.
Absolutely. And the opportunities are immense. We've seen the digital market in Bangladesh is vast, and it's still growing rapidly.
So for you listening, the key actions to really grab these opportunities seem to be, first, adopt that long-term view. Focus on building your brand. Think about customer lifetime value.
Not just the next sale.
Exactly. Second, allocate a realistic budget. Maybe that 11–20% of revenue for growth we talked about. And crucially, back it up with clear ways to measure the results.
Data-driven decisions.
Third, prioritize both parts. Create high-quality content and promote it effectively on the right platforms where your audience actually is.
Don't let good content die unseen.
Fourth, invest in skills, either your teams or through partnerships. Make decisions based on data, not just gut feelings. And fifth, engage where possible in that broader conversation about improving the digital ecosystem through collaboration.
And perhaps a final thought to leave you with. If you could ensure that every single dollar you spent on marketing was tied to a clear objective, and you could actually measure its outcome, just imagine the untapped potential that could unlock for your business or even for your entire industry here in the digital space.
A powerful question to consider. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.